Thank you for being here. It's an honor to be here. You're going to have a great show tonight. We have 5 fantastic storytellers who are going to be telling you stories. In preparation for tonight, I asked the storytellers to answer a question as a way of letting you get to know them a little bit. The question tonight was, what is the thing that you miss the least about Yale? What is the thing that you are happiest to not have to deal with anymore now that you've graduated from that fine institution? So our first storyteller evening is going to be Kristin Budde, and her answer to this question was this. She says, well, it's not fair really because she still works at Yale. She is a Yale resident. So she didn't go as an undergrad, but here is what she said. She said, well, this really isn't fair since I still work at Yale. I suspect I will not miss the hospital cafeteria, the sushi, even though she says as she's typing this, it makes up about 40% of her diet. So Kristin is eating terrible sushi about 40% of the time while she is at work right now. How about a huge round of applause for Kristin Budde?
On a bitterly cold and blindingly bright February afternoon, I'm on the 5th floor of Yale-New Haven Hospital. It's about 2015. I'm in a workroom, which is like a big 10-person cubicle where a bunch of exhausted young doctors sit and type and wonder if it's too late to go to law school. And I'm doing all of these things when this exasperated nurse comes in and tells me that I need to stop avoiding our patient down the hall. And she's right. I'm avoiding him. And I think about arguing with her, but I don't because she's just right. I know exactly who she's talking about. There's this guy who's been on our service for a little while. He's young and he has all of these medical problems. And they make it really hard for him to walk. They make it really hard for him to live a normal life. He's in the hospital all the time and he has a lot of pain. And the pain is what we're avoiding each other about because everyone in the hospital has pain because you're having a baby or you got hit by a car or something. And doctors don't want people to be in pain, I promise. But painkillers have risks and they can be addictive. And so we try to be judicious, but it's not uncommon for people and their doctors to disagree on what the proper dose is. So she's right. And so I go back down the hall to talk to him because we need to try this again. And I find him in his room and he's kind of laying on his hospital bed watching TV. He's got his arms up behind his head. He doesn't really look like he's in that much pain. And I don't know if it's that or the fact that we've already done this so many times or the fact that I missed lunch by such a long time, but we start to have that conversation again and it sort of like goes sideways. Like we start to argue a little bit and then it's sort of like we're fighting and then he's threatening to leave the hospital. And I don't really start to panic until he starts to go over to the side of his room and pull on all of his clothes over his hospital gown. So he like pulls on his sweatpants and his boots and he pulls on a coat and he rushes past me out the door. I have no idea what to do. So I chase him even though I have like no idea what I'm gonna do if I actually find him. And so I go down the hallway and I find him by the elevator banks and he's like banging on the down button, but no elevators are coming, thankfully. Or maybe that is not such a good thing because then he gets really angry and he starts to come toward me and I think he's gonna punch me. And then I'm like, well, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea because then I would like not get in as much trouble for arguing with my patient and chasing him from the hospital. But that's not actually what's happening. So he comes toward me and then he goes past me and I realize that behind me is the door to the stairwell. And he comes past me and I say, oh no, you are not going down the stairs. And he looks at me like, oh yes, I am. And he disappears onto the stairwell and he is gone. And I have a choice in that moment. I can go back to that stupid workroom with the bossy nurse and ask for help. Or I can chase him down the stairs and go totally rogue and end this on my own like some kind of hospital vigilante. Those are the only things I can do. I regret my choice the minute I am in the stairwell. But it is too late because he is flying down the stairs, like actually flying down the stairs because he doesn't even walk all that well. And so he's going down the stairs and like, great, because now he's going to also fall down the stairs and kill himself. We haven't even helped him with the actual thing he came to the hospital with, and I keep chasing him and yelling useless things like, stop, and he doesn't stop. And we're passing all of these people on the stairwell who are just like totally unfazed by this, like by this patient flinging himself down the hospital stairs with a white, like a gown behind him, and like this inept young lady doctor in an ill-fitting white coat shouting. Like all these people are just like unfazed. They just get out of the way, like they move to the edges. And this is like professionally horrifying because maybe this is happening all the time and I also find this like sort of personally vindicating because maybe it happens all the time and I'm like not as bad a doctor as it would seem. Anyway, I don't like stop to unpack it with them because before you know it, we are getting down all of the stairs and out into the Arctic hellscape that is New Haven in February. And I don't know if it's the cold, like the breathtaking cold, or the blinding sunlight, but finally I stop and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And he keeps going. He makes it all the way down the road and around the corner. And I have no idea what to do. And then I remember that I have 9 other patients who are all still in their hospital beds, and hopefully, who knows where they are. So I go all the way back up the stairs, back to that stupid workroom, and I'm like, who am I gonna ask about this? The doctors are all Googling LSAT scores. No one knows, no one can help me. And before I have time to figure out what to do, I get a page. And if you, like me, are an old millennial or younger, and you've never had a pager unless you happen to be a doctor, let me just remind you how that works. You carry around this brick of plastic, and it runs on AA batteries, and someone texts you a number, and it buzzes, and then you have to like fish it out because it's clipped to your person. And then you have to find another separate phone and dial in all of those numbers wrong a couple times, and then finally you get another person on the line, like the person you tried to meet in the first place. And then they say, Dr. Budde, your patient is in the lobby, or question mark, because as everybody knows, your patient is not supposed to be in the lobby. Your patient is supposed to be in their hospital beds. And then you run all the way down the stairs, and you get to the lobby, and there, in front of these floor-to-ceiling windows that are just flooded with light, on a backless bench is the patient you just chased from the hospital. And you can't make out any of the details because it's so bright, but you can tell that it's them by his socks and his shoes and his slouch. You take a deep breath and you walk across the hospital lobby this time. You stop being a moron and you sit down next to him and you realize that this is the first time that you guys have ever been facing in the same direction. And I say, I am so sorry about this. Like, just so sorry. No qualifications, so sorry. Can we please go back upstairs and try this again? And he says nothing. And if I'm honest, there's a part of me that thinks, I don't think you're in that much pain because I saw how quickly you got down those stairs. I was winded. And I don't say that, obviously, because I'm not a total moron. But I think I'm right on some level, because the thing he actually needs walks through the door right then. It's this woman in her 50s or 60s. She looks just as exhausted as him. And she sits down next to him, and no greeting. She just says, what happened? And he says, Mom, no one in this hospital is trying to take care of me. I have no idea what to say. But it seems like finally facing the right way, everything is sort of coming into focus. And so I just say again, I'm so sorry. Can we please go back upstairs and try this again? And it works that time. But it's not because I've done or said anything correctly that day. It's because when things go like horribly sideways, if you can just find a way to face in the same direction, even for an instant, all that light that was so blinding will be illuminating. Thank you.
Kristin Budde. That was great. Yes.